What's going on, everybody? Thank you for checking out the channel. In today's video, we're looking at the fastest killing assault rifles in Season 1 of Warzone. So if you've played Season 1 of Warzone, no doubt you've run into somebody with a DMR or a MAC-10 or even the Diamatti pistols. And even though it's been nerfed, it's still not enough. I wouldn't worry about it though, because typically the guns will get nerfed into the ground in the future. So don't worry about it. But I've gotten a lot of questions lately on YouTube and on TikTok from people asking, Cold, what is the gun? What should we be using? What can we use to counter these DMR players? Or what is the future meta going to be since all the Cold War weapons were integrated into Warzone? And so I've wanted to take some time here to throw together a quick video and show you guys a comparison of which guns are performing the best in the assault rifle category in terms of time to kill and damage range. So let's check it out. So for this comparison, I'm pulling the data from TrueGameData.com, and I wanted to round out all of the top assault rifles that were in the game so we can try to identify who has the highest damage per second, or what's the most powerful assault rifle in the game right now for close quarters. I want to point that out. And so the guns that we're comparing today are the AN-94, the CR-56 AMAX, the FAL, the GRAW, M4A1, RAM-7, M13, XM4, Groza, and FFAR. Now, when you look at this chart, this is in terms of DPS, so the damage per second, and this specifically is the shot location in the chest, since that's highly likely where people are actually going to hit if they're not getting an actual headshot. And so when we look at this chart, by far the standout leader here is the FFAR. So as it stands right now in Season 1, the FFAR is actually the strongest AR in terms of DPS in the game. And when we look at the chart, right around the 36 meter mark, it drops. The DPS drops from 495 to 405 and then flatlines out. And that represents an 18% decrease. Now, when we look at the second most powerful weapon in the game, it's the FAL, which is this light blue line. The problem is that the FAL falls short. Its drop off is at 21 meters, and it goes from 454 to 423, which is a 6.8% decrease. So it's a less of a drop on this weapon, but the drop occurs sooner in the distance to the target, and that could be problematic depending on the situation. Now, the third gun on here is the Groza. That's in green. And it could be argued that the Groza is the second highest contender in terms of DPS. And it's really only got a hairline margin of 2 DPS over the FAL. And it does have an extended range to 31 meters. So at 31 meters, which is a 10-meter extension over the FAL, the Groza drops from 452 DPS to 364, which is a 19% drop. So it's slightly more than the FFAR in terms of its range and the drop-off point, but it's still technically better than the FAL. And now, if you've played Warzone before, you're no stranger to the CR-56 AMAX, aka the Galil that came into the game earlier last year. And when we look at the stats here for the AMAX in pink, which was the previous leading gun, the range drop off occurs at 24 meters, and it drops from 441 to 399, which is only a 9.5% drop, and then continues on. So what does all this mean? It means the FFAR actually puts out the most damage in Warzone right now, given that it was recently added to the game, and it beats the CR-56 in both damage and range. And that's something to be said, because the CR-56 AMAX was a highly regarded gun in terms of its damage in Warzone previously, but it has been dethroned. But one thing should be noted here is that you're not going to want to run either one of these guns for a long range combat. It's not like an M13, so you're going to want to pair the FFAR or the CR-56 AMAX with a sniper rifle or something that's going to help you at that range and something that's going to keep up to its speed. So a Kar 98 or an SPR would be perfectly suited for this. And a little bit more in the video here, I'm going to get to the time to kill and also address the bullet velocity and the fire rate of these guns. So let's check it out. In this chart, we're comparing the time to kill ratios over a distance with 3 plates equipped with chest shots. And you can see here in the light blue, the FAL is actually the most consistent performer over the long range. However, many players don't like it because the gun's semi-automatic. despite everybody running around with a DMR right now. So when we look at the FFAR, Groza, and CR56 AMAX here in green, pink, and red, the FFAR and Groza actually have a greater TTK over distance than the AMAX, which was previously the king of Warzone for many top players like Swag, Nick, Mercs, Cloaksy, etc. So if we take initial DPS and bullet drops into consideration over this distance, the AMAX edges out the FFAR by a very thin margin over distance. So taking the charts a little bit further, we wanted to look at the raw data. So the comparison becomes both a choice and a playstyle. Both weapons have an incredible amount of damage and both feature recoil, so it's not like it's going to be an M13 beaming across the map. So what I wanted to do is actually look at some raw data and compare those specs there. So the FFAR has a fire rate of 900 RPM, which is very closely related to the M13's fire rate, while the AMAX has a fire rate of 630 RPM, and the Groza meets them right in the middle at 754. The challenge here is that the FFAR also has a faster ADS speed at 238 milliseconds compared to the AMAX at 279, but of the group, technically the Groza is the fastest at 221. Lastly, when we look at bullet velocity, which is crucial hitting targets at range, the FFAR hits at 628 meters per second compared to only 587 for the AMAX, which represents an increase of 7% for the FFAR. The Groza matches the FFAR at 628 as well by comparison, and the FAL comes in as the winner at 720. So what's the TLDR cold, or what's the conclusion? The fastest TTK in the game right now is the FFAR, and it beats the previous winners like the AMAX. But the addition of the FFAR and the Groza as a Cold War guns present interesting options for loadouts in the game. And it all depends on your playstyle. And if you've noticed, ground loot weapons usually are indicative of what the new meta is, so you'll always see that changing as time goes on. So with that being said, my choice is the FFAR, about up to 60 meters or so. It's not going to be an M13 or a GRA that will beam somebody across the map, but it definitely will slap cheeks up close. And the extra bullet velocity will help despite the little bit of recoil that you have to deal with. But with a Kar 98 or an SPR in your back pocket, you'll be covered for the longer ranges. So what do you think about the results from the Season 1 assault rifles in Warzone? Let me know what you think of them in the comments below, and which loadout are you actually using? What's your favorite gun? If you happen to like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and again, comment below on what your favorite weapon is in Warzone right now. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I'd love to have you on board, and then you can get notifications when I upload new videos just like this one. So I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you in the next video.